listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, thank God it's Friday.
And you're not kidding.
I know. I with all the shopping and all the food, I've been cooking food to go to the game on Sunday. I've been making soup and doing all kinds of stuff. Once the show's over today, I'm going and doing my last shopping, and that's it. I got 2 more gifts to buy, and have you got all your shopping done?
So, well, shopping's just about done, but I got to tell you, so for our listeners that are just waking up this morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about food. Tuesday, I played a little hooky, took the day off from work, and went down to Arthur Avenue in the Bronx.
Oh, nice.
And did my Christmas shopping down there. Absolutely, the food is
my God,
phenomenal,
isn't it?
Phenomenal. Little Italy is just...
Did you stop and eat at every pizza place? Because they got some of the best pizza in the world.
Oh, actually, I'm going to brag about a place called Mario's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right down this, about 3 or 4 doors right down from Mike's Deli.
Yeah,
which is the center court in Arthur Avenue.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, the food is excellent.
Just totally awesome. I had a calamari fried diavolo. Calamari
making me hungry right now.
Yeah, and the sauce was just awesome. Really good Italian cooking.
So how was the when you were down there? Was it obviously masks? Were they only letting a few people in at a time? Or?
It depends where you went. Some places that we went into, you could walk right in. They didn't require a mask. They were, I think people are over it, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well, I know Monday on the 13th that mandate went into effect. But when I was in Target on Tuesday or Wednesday. After the show on Wednesday, I went to Target, and they weren't requiring a mask in there. Now you got to wear. I think it's at people's discretion. I'm curious to see when I go to the Giant game, even though that's in New Jersey. Curious to see what's going on at the Giant game on Sunday. If we have to wear a mask when we leave our seat. Hopefully, we don't have to wear one in our seat. They're not playing good enough for me to sit there and wear a mask for 3 hours.
So. I don't know the way they're playing. You might want to wear a mask in case they
listen. I was in Florida 2 weeks ago, where the vaccine. What are we? 92%, Joe. The state is vaccinated somewhere in the 90th percentile.
Right.
Of the state of New York is vaccinated. In Florida, it's about 38%. No one wears masks. I mean, you have to wear one in the airport, but I mean, as soon as you get out into the curb from the airport, everybody takes their mask off. No one wore a mask the whole time when we were down there. And it seems that there's not. I mean, unless they're not reporting it, there seems to be more spikes up here. From what me and Greg and Tony and the rest of us were talking about during the week, I think it's because of the cold up here. Coronavirus, down there it's still warm.
Right.
Coronavirus is like the flu. So, when it gets cold, it kind of makes it worse.
Right.
So I thought, because me and Cam were like, God, no one even thinks about it down there. You can still go into the restaurant. There's no mask mandate, none of that stuff. Then again, the state is run by Republicans, so... there's that. So
what do you mean by that?
That's a big thing.
So, but in the city, someplace like the restaurants, they definitely did. They wanted to check and make sure you had your vaccination. So they asked. But they were so polite, and once again, we talk about the mask mandate for unvaccinated, and they've really put a hardship again on the businesses because it's not. It's and just so our listeners understand, it's not for the police to respond to calls for people not wearing masks. We don't do that.
It's a mandate.
It's a mandate, and it's actually, if you look at the law, it says that the jurisdiction for enforcement lies with the local health department.
Right.
So it's not a law enforcement
and it's an
issue.
Indoor thing, right? It's
an indoor thing, and the health department really doesn't enforce it against the individual who's not wearing the mask. It's the health department would enforce it against the business, which again puts an extra burden on our business people because they're trying to thrive and they're being put in a position to play policeman.
I couldn't understand it. I'm not, I like Target. The reason I was going back and forth shopping there, I was like, wow, there's someone sitting in a chair at Hannaford. If you're not wearing a mask, they hand you one. They used to do that in Target during, when the pandemic was really often running.
A year ago, yeah.
Maybe the person wasn't there, or maybe I just went there too early, but there was a bunch of people walking around Target on Wednesday without a mask on. I was one of them.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's cool, because, sometimes you're walking around the grocery store, you're shopping, I'm not saying you're sweating, but you're doing stuff, and, the last thing you want to do is wear a mask, and then you're walking out to the car, and you're just like, ugh. I don't know, I'm over the mask thing. Like in the airport, sometimes the plane gets in late, you got to run to the next gate. Having a mask on running is not fun. So even like a light jog with some luggage behind you, it's not fun.
So I go to the gym in the morning, and we're required they have at Planet Fitness, they require that you wear a mask, but it's you get on the treadmill and you start running, or the elliptical, or the stair climber.
You have to wear
a mask while you're working out. Yeah,
you can't even lower. I mean, how can you run on a treadmill with a mask? That's like
it's not easy, especially because as the mask gets wet, so it starts sucking into your face.
Right. Well, you can't lower. At least keep your nose out. I mean, like
no, because that would defeat the purpose of wearing a mask.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That sucks, man.
Yeah. It wasn't fun. It's not fun this week working out with a mask on. But
I think maybe it's time to get a Peloton at the house.
Yeah, that was some market. They did very well. Peloton, anybody. Look at Dick's Sporting Goods.
I tell you, my friend in Florida has the mirror, and he bought all this stuff for his wife and for him. During the pandemic, because the gyms were closed in Florida. This mirror thing is cool, man. If he's like, if I want to run in the mountains in Alaska, he just turns the remote on. All of a sudden, there's a big picture. He's running in the mountain. It's snowing out. He's like, that's the closest I'll get to snow living in Florida.
Wow.
Then he's like, if I want to run on the beach, I'm like, if you want to run on the beach, just walk down the street. But he's got all, the mirror is pretty cool. And then there's someone there, similar to Peloton. You can have someone pushing you, go faster, do this, or you can turn her off. So, like with the Peloton, depending on what you're doing, like if you want to ride, you could be with other people, working out,
right?
And you could, but you're really, because the screen is on the machine, right? That all invented from New York City, where people can't get out. You would see people go that bicycle enthusiasts would go to these places. And there would be a big screen up on the board, and 20 people would be in there, and the top 3 would get the next, visit would be 50% off or whatever. That's how Peloton got invented. The screen thing where you can actually set it up, and it's pretty. They're expensive. Peloton's expensive. It's not cheap, but if you want to work out at home and you don't want to wear a mask.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
So what happens when you're pumping iron? You got to wear a mask too?
Oh, yeah, the whole time. If you're lifting weights, you're
sucks.
working out on, like I said, the treadmill, elliptical, whatever you're doing, stair climber, whatever.
What happens if you go really, really early and there's no one there? Can you have to wear it?
I wouldn't know because I don't go really.
You don't go too early. That must be pretty bad on the Mac Fitness. You go to the Mac Fitness in the Plaza?
No. I go Planet Fitness.
Oh, Planet Fitness. That's the one out by ShopRite?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that thing's huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They have LA Fitnesses all over Florida. They're like on every corner. Similar to Planet Fitness, they're gigantic, TV at every treadmill type thing, and
right.
Yeah, they're pretty popular, man. So
when I think about Planet Fitness, so I do a lot of traveling, obviously, with the job, and so
you can go to
So when I was in Colorado in September, I just was a Planet Fitness that was 2 blocks down from the hotel.
And you just bring your card in, and you're
just
good.
Bring your card in.
So it's good anywhere in America. That's cool.
Yeah, which is nice.
And similar to how is the membership? Is it relatively cheap?
It's like $22 a month.
For full use of everything.
That's for full use of everything. That's what they call the black card.
Really?
And that allows you to go to other facilities.
And do you get a locker with that?
Well, there's always locker rooms. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's no like assigned lockers or anything.
Because I know when I joined the Y, it was like $600 a year, but that was like full membership with the locker, with pool access, with 20 membership. Whenever the place was open, you could use it.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm the type of person I got to be around other people that are working out in order to stay motivated because I tried to do it at home and it just doesn't work. I find something like just turn the TV on. Next thing you know, you're sitting on the couch.
Yeah, or there's too many other chores to do around the house, like fix a gutter, mow the lawn, rake leaves, blow leaves, shovel snow. And you're like working out, right? And also, when you go to work out, you feel like you're there to work out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, and you probably do different things on different days, right? Cardio one day, legs the other day.
I have a 5-day routine that I follow.
So Fred Costello's on his way in.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So he's had a busy
2
week.
weeks from today, Dan Gruner is Dan Gruner, right? Dan Gruner and Fran DiPetrillo will be having this show. They'll be starting on New Year's. Actually, New Year's Eve is 2 weeks from today. I can't believe that Christmas is right around the corner.
Amazing.
So we're just filling in for them today. They weren't quite ready to get going yet, so they're going to be starting in 2 weeks. So what did I call you? 2 weeks ago, I said, Joe, I need you. And you were like, yeah, no problem.
We'll come in.
And you happened to be sitting in Fred's office, right? You guys must have been going over something.
Right, we wanted the budget.
Yeah, we're going over the budget. And you're like, I can bring Fred. I was like, perfect. Because then he came in, I think that was a Monday I called you. And then I saw Fred here on Wednesday. He's like, yeah. I was like, that's great. It just worked out perfect. So Bob Baum will come in at 8:30, and you and Fred have plenty of stuff to talk about until then.
And we may actually
Now, I know Greg sent a couple announcements over regarding sorties. I know there's a Sports Hall of Fame banquet, and then some about some road closures.
Oh, let's see here. So we got a bunch of stuff. So he sent something over here about. I just want to make sure this is all time sensitive here. So the banquet, the Sorgity Sports Hall of Fame Induction Banquet 2022. So he sent a note over that says after. I like the way he words everything. He has lots of words he likes to use. So after a 2-year hiatus,
I tell you, some people send him over, and I got to use the highlight, but his are perfect. They're like ready for studio reading.
Well, we're going to see right now. So after a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, the Sorgity Sports Hall of Fame is going to resume their tradition of honoring those who have made a significant impact on Sorgity sports history. As the Sports Hall of Fame enters its 59th year of existence in 2022, the induction banquet will take place on Saturday, April 9th. Doors will open at 5 p.m. with a cocktail and greeting hour from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., followed by dinner and induction ceremonies at 6:30 p.m. And these events will be taking place at Diamond Mills, which is located at 25 South Partiston Street in the village of Sorgeties. And some of their 2022 inductees from 2 years ago include Pat Caffrey, Jay Dodick, Mark Herb, along with Steve Einar Martin and Jimmy Spears. And that's going to be posthumously. And all are invited to come out and celebrate. And the achievements of this year's inductions is part of the Great Sorgeties Institution and Tradition. And a fun and memorable evening guaranteed. So you'll have to get your tickets for that.
April?
Yeah, he says April 9th. Ooh, yep, April 9th.
So you got 4 months to plan for that one. Go ahead.
All right, I just got to...
And I'll read the other one while you're doing that. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy.
Yeah,
all right, so then Chief Sinagra got a phone call, so it must have been important. So the next announcement, and obviously this is tomorrow, so this is, and we've been announcing this for the last couple months. Reached Across America, Sorgeties VFW Post 5034 is sponsoring a bus trip to Saratoga National Cemetery. remember the fallen, honor those who serve, teach our children the value of freedom by placing wreaths on gravesite. Saturday, December 18th. That's tomorrow. $15 per person. It leaves from the Wghq Senior Center at 10 a.m. Returns at approximately 5 p.m. We will have a cash lunch stop. To purchase more wreaths, the cost is $15 each. Checks can be made payable to the Saugerties VFW, Post 5034. You can mail them to P.O. Box 152, Saugerties, New York, 12477. If you need to contact somebody or you have any questions, call Bob Howe at 845-246-8510. Wow. And the last announcement is, and if I think I'm reading this correctly, this is for tomorrow as well, and this also is from Greg Jorvis from Saugerties. This is a Saugerties announcement. Kindly be advised that Court Drive between Washington Avenue and Pavilion Street in the Canton Field Sports Complex will be closed periodically commencing Saturday, December 18th. And that's effective until Monday, January 3rd. Court Drive will be closed permanently for an undetermined time, along with the area immediately adjacent to the south will be closed with no public pedestrian access. The above measures are required to accommodate excavation and in the base to install a new picketball courts. What the heck is picketball? Along with shifting of the court drive to accommodate new courts. Please understand these measures are being put in place for the safety of all. We thank you and anticipate support. Another message from Greg. So be aware that area will be closed for looks like around 2 weeks. So if you live over in the Washington Avenue Pavilion Street area near Canton Field, be advised that it'll be closed. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with Fred Costello and Joe Sinagra.
The on-air studio.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
A powerful community bank is one that has leaders that are involved in their community. At Rondout Savings Bank, they invest in the success of our community by working side by side with local people and local businesses. When you choose to bank Rondout, you are part of a bank that is dedicated to the future of your success and the success of your community. Rondout Savings welcomes you to open an account today and discover what it means to be part of a powerful community bank, one that knows you by name. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and our community, with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park, also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Okay, we're back. Freddie, there?
I am here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, Chief had to take a phone call, and I think it has to do with work because usually he cuts people short. So how you doing this morning, Fred?
Doing great. Doing very good.
I take it you got shorts on because you came into the office the other day when it was 24 degrees with shorts on. So I would imagine you got shorts on today. I almost put them on myself this morning.
Well, it's weird. It's been so warm the last 2 days. Even last night.
It was beautiful.
Night, I was outside. I'm like, wow.
Oh, it was so nice. I had the windows open last night. It was great.
Yeah.
It was
great. Really a gift to have this kind of weather this late in December. Holy cow.
I know. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm looking at the weather right now. It says it's 51 right now in Uptown Kingston, but today, it's supposed to get up to 54 today. So, it looks like we're getting some rain tomorrow though. 95% chance of rain. And then Sunday looks like it starts to get a little cold again. 36 on Sunday, 18 Sunday night. But then Tuesday doesn't look too bad. 43 on Tuesday, 40 on Wednesday, 40 on Thursday. I mean, I guess at this time of the year we can't complain, because we know in January it's going to get really cold again. So.
Well, we have to pay our dues. It is winter, after all.
It is, and actually, the first day.
Tomorrow's the first day?
No, it's Tuesday's the first day, the 21st.
Okay.
So that's actually the longest day of the year, and then we actually start gaining a minute in the morning and a minute at night. Because it's getting dark at like 4:30 now. It's like ridiculous, man.
It's a little bit depressing.
It is. Yeah, when you go to work at dark and then you're leaving work when it's dark, it's kind of crazy. But either way, so I hope you're. I was
listening as you guys did the announcements. Hopefully, Bob Howe's going to call in around 8:30. Talk about the Reefs Across America event that we're doing tomorrow.
Okay, well, text him and make sure it's 8 because I got Bob Baum coming in at 8:30. He's actually our only guest today. But Joe says he's got a lot of stuff to talk about with the cannabis thing with the. What was he talking? Does that go into effect January 1st where you're allowed to have? Is that what everybody's talking about in the paper with dispensaries? They're allowed to open on the 1st?
So for communities that do not opt out, the state law will take effect January 1st, which would facilitate or allow resident businesses to apply to the Cannabis Bureau to secure licenses to open retail dispensaries for recreational use and or lounges. So about 25% of the communities in New York State.
Because I know Rhinebeck isn't partaking in like stuff like that. Is Saugerties going to partake in that, or?
So we have not made an official decision yet. The board, we went above and beyond trying to educate ourselves. We had 2 informational centers meetings with professionals in the field. Chief was a very big part of helping to organize that. Hopefully when he's done with his call, we can talk about that a little bit.
I'm back, Fred.
He's back. He's back.
He's back. So we had 3 individuals who really came out of the industry. Ruben Lindo is a Saugerties resident, and he has set up some marijuana growing facilities in and around New York State. And, oh boy. So for listeners, there's a little bit of information that's relevant. It looks like a piece of concrete fell off of a tractor trailer.
In front of you?
And, right here on...
You're on 209, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not on 209. I'm actually on 28. It looks like a piece of concrete fell off of a tractor trailer. It's causing a little bit of congestion with traffic. So the folks keep that in mind if you're leaving Kingston on Washington Avenue. Well, actually, if you're coming...
See, Fred's not only our co-host, he's also our traffic reporter.
He's like the helicopter there.
He's like the helicopter. He's like
do a little bit of everything.
He's like the Doppler.
Nothing well, but a little bit of everything.
Hey, we strive for excellence here at KCR.
That's right.
What are the tax benefits from having a dispensary or a lounge in Saugerties? I mean, I know. I mean, there must be. Does the town or does the village get a certain amount of, like, say the dispensary brings in $1 million, do you guys get 10% of that? How does that work? I mean, I'm just being hypothetical with the numbers.
Yeah. So there's 13% tax on cannabis sales. A portion of that goes to the county, a portion of that goes to the state, and the largest portion would go to the town.
Oh.
So if it was $1 million in sales, the town would net
$130,000. Okay, that's cool.
So there is that incentive for the host community. However, our budget calculations did not include any planning for cannabis revenues. There is the potential for a revenue boost with cannabis sales, but we have not anticipated nor planned for any of that at this point.
Now the flip side of that is maybe the crime or what would come along with it, having a dispensary, depending on what part of town you had it in. I mean, if you had it on Partition Street and, a mother and a father are walking down the street with their 2 young children, and the smell of marijuana is, the aroma is on the street, people. I mean, how does that work? I mean,
well, we have that now. I can answer that question.
Yeah. Oh, that's true because it's legal and people are smoking it in the street.
It's been legal since March.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Right. Well, yeah, since the end of February. You're right. I've noticed that I walk back and forth to work, and I've noticed that when I'm walking uptown, I do smell pot a lot.
Yeah,
since February. Now, being that you're the chief of police and are you allowed to write an unlawful? Are you allowed to write a UPM, an unlawful possession?
No. All those laws that pertain to marijuana have been completely repealed and removed from.
I mean, unless you pull somebody over and he's got 10 pounds in his car,
right.
Then you can write him a ticket.
Right. There's weight limits now that individuals can possess on their person, and as far as the smoking, that follows the same rules as vaping and smoking tobacco products. So wherever you can. So smoke a cigarette or use your vape, you can smoke cannabis. With the exception of your automobile.
Right, because that's just like alcohol. Right.
Correct. You cannot consume.
Because it's also legal for recreation in New Jersey. And I tell you, going to a Giant game now is like going to a Grateful Dead concert. I mean, it is just like, I'm like, God, it's just like one big cloud of smoke. I mean, even inside this, not inside the seats, but people go outside to have a cigarette at halftime or whatever. It's crazy.
It's interesting what they've done, and it comes with a whole set of new problems that we have to deal with, and it's again, I mean, it's interesting when you listen to a conversation from the experts that are in the field, especially if you're listening to the advocates that want to promote the legalization throughout the country, and their comparison, and rightfully so, I believe, they're saying it's no worse than alcohol. Both of them are bad, and if they're misused, both are bad. And if you operate under the influence of alcohol, it's bad. And if you're going to operate under the influence of cannabis, because I guess to take the stigma away of, the cliche of 70s hippie style, they've renamed marijuana cannabis, which has always been cannabis, but the new laws refer to it as cannabis and not marijuana, as the old laws did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a shell game.
How look
at that.
It is. He's got shorts on.
He's on. We guessed. We said you'd have shorts.
He's got a parka on top, but he's got shorts on the bottom, folks. Fred, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Now I can take my helmet off.
So, and I had to run out on him. So just for our listeners, so I had to run out and take a couple of phone calls. Today is National School Threat Day, and unfortunately, there's been all kinds of stuff on TikTok and YouTube.
That's right. I heard about that.
Right. So that's what I had to take calls for because and I have to question our listeners, our parents that are out there. This has been going on for well over a month now. All the stuff on TikTok, postings about school shootings and about violence. So today is like the designated day. You know, all police agencies throughout New York State are doing their due diligence to make sure everybody's safe. We're not going to be able to 100% prevent anything from ever happening. That's just impossible. But it gets whipped up.
Disturbing trend in our culture, though. How the heck did School Violence Day become a celebratory event?
I know.
You have a caller?
Yeah, we do. We got a caller.
Okay.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Chief Fred, how you guys doing today?
Doing great, pal. How you doing?
Terrific. Hey, I'm calling to let you guys know that the town of Esopus voted to opt out on cannabis last night. We was at the town meeting and stuff, and they opted out, so now all those who want it has 45 days, I think, from the time it becomes effective to get up somewhere around 500 signatures to put it on a ballot for next November. And the main reason is there's no real regulations or anything else on it yet. And I remember what the chief said. There is no test out there that they can give a person that was driving a car on the street. So we said, hey, until they get it figured out and everything else, let's hold off on it, and the town board agreed.
Was that unanimous, George? Do you know?
It was a 3-1 vote.
3-1 vote?
Yep, and the one guy main reason was to make it easier for people who use the medical marijuana and stuff.
So there are some mechanisms to help folks who have earned a privilege of using medical marijuana.
Right.
But I think... I think everybody shares the same concerns. Obviously, we don't want our young folks to gain access to it, and we don't want people to abuse marijuana. And
yeah, the other thing too, Fred, is that they also put in gummies and stuff now, from what they're saying.
Yeah,
and
edibles are a fairly substantial trend.
So, George, when I was in Colorado, I went and one of the things we did, I went with the inspector from Suffolk County Police Department and a police chief from the western part of New York State. We went and visited cannabis retail outlets. And I got to tell you, number one, they were very receptive to us coming in because obviously we told them who we were and what our mission was. And they gave us quite the education. And there's everything from, all the edibles cover things such as the classic cliche of brownies, but there's all kinds of cakes, lollipops, which... It's concerning when you see some of the packaging and you see the product itself because it becomes enticing for children.
Right.
So one of the
the
things that
packaging and stuff.
Right.
Hey, they figure it's candy or it's coffee cake or it's cake and think nothing of it.
Right. So one of the things that the Cannabis Control Board for New York State is addressing is packaging, and also reputable processors of these products don't want the product to look like something that's going to be enticing for children. As the industry is growing, they're starting, I kind of compare it a little bit to the liquor industry and the beer industry. They're really trying to be responsible about it, and I'm no way saying that I'm pro-cannabis, but I'm not against it either. I'm staying mainstream on it because the bottom line is I just spent 33 years of my career fighting this war on drugs, which included cannabis, and now it has become legal, and I have to go with a paradigm shift, not only for my agency but for my community, on how we deal with the cannabis industry. The interesting thing is, and I had mentioned this at our town hall this past week, New York State only gave the villages and towns the opportunity to opt out of consumption lounges and retail outlets. But if somebody wants to come to Sorgetes, and we're pretty much rural, the township itself, and they want to cultivate, in other words, farm cannabis, they have every legal right to do that. And they're going to be able to do it because the town, unless they came up with specific zoning that prevented it, they would have to allow that. And it's the same thing with if somebody wanted to open a manufacturing plant where they're going to take the raw material and process it into these edibles or into other products, the town would really, unless it was a zoning issue, would really have no say over it. They're going to be able to do that. So they really restricted what towns and villages could address as far as it came to the cannabis industry. The sad part of this is that every person has the opportunity, and some people may not think it's sad, but every household has the opportunity to have up to 12 plants that they can grow themselves in their own yard. and 6 mature and 6 immature. And it's interesting because the law speaks to the mature and immature plants, but it doesn't speak to, number one, how someone would gain access, and I'm assuming it would be law enforcement, to a person's property to ensure that they only have 6 mature and 6 immature. Right. So there's too many questions and not enough answers right now as to how this is going to work in New York. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, it's here and it's legal.
Right, exactly. And I recall you saying that right now there's no road test out there that you could test a person who been driving erratically if they was smoking pot, grass, marijuana, or anything else. And that's the thing, because hey, it could affect their driving habits just like alcohol.
Right. And George, it goes beyond that. Here's even
sobriety tests and everything else too.
Exactly. And the bigger problem is when it comes to our district attorney's offices in New York State, having the, at this point, inability to prosecute somebody who's operating under the influence of cannabis, because the problem is, unlike alcohol, we have not quantified how much THC would be equivalent to someone being impaired, or how much THC would have to be in someone's system for them to be considered intoxicated. And we have those standards. And those are standards that are scientifically proven standards, that at a 0.08 a person is impaired, at a 0.10 they're intoxicated, and then they found later on through more studies that at a 0.08 a person would be intoxicated versus impaired. But we have no scientific research that shows the effects of cannabis when it comes to operating a motor vehicle. So even if we were to arrest someone for operating under the influence of cannabis, the likelihood that they would be convicted in a court of law is really slim, quite honestly.
Right, yeah, and I feel sorry for anybody that get in an accident with somebody like that, because, hey, it could be their life and stuff that those people out there driving, but it's another case where New York State just jumped at everything before looking at all the options, and
well, I think what they saw, George, is they saw an opportunity to make money. And the unfortunate thing is the legacy market.
Simple. I feel like there's a fairly significant. Not everybody drinks. Not everybody likes certain foods. There's a noted percentage of our population that do engage in cannabis consumption.
Oh, no, I agree with that. And the reason why I think the legislature moved too quickly, though, is they didn't answer the questions. So we didn't address the vehicle and traffic portion of this like we did with alcohol years ago. So I think they could have slowed down. I'm not saying they shouldn't have legalized. If they're going to legalize it, that's fine. But let's make sure that we have proper procedures and policies, and that we have proper laws in place that protect community members who don't use, and even those that do use can become victims of someone's use.
Yeah.
Right. And Fred, I think from what I heard is that the state collects 13 cents on a dollar for the sales, and I think something like 3 cents go back to the town. I'm not sure if that's going to be the town, the county, or whatever. So
there's your analysis is correct. There's the law benefits the host community,
right,
in an economic way. Now, what that translates to, I don't know that there's a real meaningful way to gauge that. Does that mean the town that's hosting will experience an additional $30,000 in sales tax, or does it mean the town that's the host community is going to experience $300,000 in sales tax?
Right. Yes.
I don't think there's a real way to quantify that at this point. I think part of it depends how many communities opt out. So folks would still be driving some distance to purchase cannabis. If all the communities opted in, which we know is not happening, then those retail outlets would basically only support whatever population within those communities wants to use cannabis. So there's some, and I think something that gets a little bit lost is there's two components to this. There's the lounges plus the retail operation. And the lounges are a little bit confusing only because if I go to a lounge, I can't buy cannabis at the lounge. I can bring my own cannabis to the lounge and smoke it with my friends or consume it as an edible with my friends, but I can't buy it there. So I think I'm not clear about the economic model. I think the lounges are kind of, and there won't be an opportunity to serve alcohol at that lounge either. So, if it's an art venue or a music venue or a poetry venue, something where folks would be wanting to congregate and you could charge a cover for it. I understand that economic model, but I don't fully understand the motivation why I would want to not just smoke at home or at a friend's house and want to be in a congregative atmosphere.
Right, yeah, and not take a chance at being picked up for driving, or have an acts about not really being picked up because they no law to really enforce, but to not get involved in an accident, something like that. But yeah, that's why ISOPUS opted out, to where we wanted to see and look at more and more what they come down with. And if enough people in the town of ISOPUS decided they want it, well, they could get 500 signatures and put it on a ballot next November. And
but I do think there's going to be an expiration to this experience. So if there's a cannabis outlet in Ulster County in the northern part where we all share, there will be some place that sells cannabis.
Right.
And the Cannabis Bureau has kind of indicated that they're going to issue up to 300 licenses statewide. So if that's the case, and Sopus opted out and Sorges ends up opting out in some capacity, and Ulster opted, and the only community that was left standing opted in, they're likely the ones to earn the license. And even if communities come to the party later, the revenue opportunities that exist now will have expired.
Right, and the fact where they may not even be able to get a license too down the road.
And there may not be any licenses left. And I think too, I think regardless of whether Sorges opts in or opts out, we're going to stay on the course to adopt zoning changes that will allow retail in specific areas of Sorges. I think the worst case scenario is that someone gets a license that for a particular building or an area of a community that's near a neighborhood that's technically legal by the law, but near a religious institution or a school, and it's not in plain view. So, the opportunity, if that business is struggling to do nefarious things, is higher than if it was next to a retail outlet that we all kind of go to on a regular basis, and it's in plain view, and it's in the light of law enforcement in the community, and folks can go in and out of there and do what they do, just as you go to the liquor store and buy product. And I think that's the most appropriate place for it. Also, there are going to be some security concerns and some traffic concerns. That's something we learned very well in speaking with the industry leaders that shared their time with us, that we have to anticipate, especially if there's a high percentage of opt-out and there's only going to be a small number of retail outlets to serve a fairly broad community, there's going to be traffic associated with that. So you certainly don't want that traffic to go into an area that supports a neighborhood and is going to cause congestion problems, or a situation where folks are trying to turn into a facility and they can't get off the main road. So we have to be thoughtful and mindful of that. And I think for Sorges, it's important that we direct the eligibility to areas that have robust traffic patterns and are away from the religious institutions and the schools and the areas where children might be congregating, and where people who are going to a religious institution may find it particularly offensive and they're not kind of in their face about it. So there's quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot to look over and a lot to think about, but so I agree with you guys on that one and stuff. And like I said, that's why we basically opted out. And if they want to put it on the ballot, they can put it on the ballot. Yep. But we thought it was best to let's get more answers before we just dive into something. Because once you opt in, you can't opt out.
Yeah.
And so we say, hey, it's better to err on the side of caution than to get into something that we find out later we really didn't want to get into. So I was glad the town board did what they did and stuff. And hey, there was those 3 meetings had tremendous turnout. Because normally, like in your case, like with town boards, you get very few people at the town board meetings. And this case here, for those 3 meetings, the meeting room basically was packed those 3 nights.
We had, is that how they did it? They did 3 nights of public hearing?
Yeah, the first one was towards the end of November, then December the 2nd, and then last night. And after last night is when the board voted to opt out. So they had 3 chances. They had time to send in public comments or email comments to the town and stuff, so that they could put them in the minutes and stuff, and the town board members could take a look at it and read them and everything else and see what they thought in order that they could make their decisions. And then last night was the night that they voted, because everything's got to be done by the 31st, or you automatically opted in.
Mm-hmm. And so, I imagine some Esopus residents shared the same frustration that Saugerties residents are expressing, that this feels fast and, folks don't have a full understanding of it. However, the local communities are simply responding to the time frame that was offered by the state legislation.
Right.
And, there's, if we decide not to make a decision, that has a consequence. If we make a decision, that also has a consequence. And, the world did not stop when this legislation was adopted. The local government still had to do the work that they were working on. They still had to manage their employees. They still had to do all those other things. So, to stop the world and give this strict priority was an impossibility. And,
Yep. And hey, like I said, hey, they decided to opt out at this time, which I believe is the right decision, because the other side tried to play it as like we had the Bruderhof, a person from the Bruderhof came and spoke, a local pastor from Port Ewan spoke and stuff, and they was trying to say, well, those people paid no taxes, they got no skin in the game. But all the other ones that spoke there was homeowners. And like myself and stuff, I told them last night, I said, there was articles in the paper where you said that the church's religious organization spoke, but they don't pay taxes. I said, well, a number of the people who did spoke are homeowners in the town, and yes, we do pay our taxes.
Yeah, and I think that's a unfair conclusion for the Bruderhof. I mean, I happen to be Catholic, and my church doesn't pay taxes either. However, it doesn't mean they're not a valuable asset in the community.
Right.
And the Bruderhof does not have a facility in Saugerties, but they've played a tremendous role in helping many of my residents.
All over, yes.
Yeah,
they have been. And
to diminish.
For them just to put them on just the one place to say, well, they don't pay. Yeah, but what do? They help all over the place.
They're a tremendous resource, not just for Esopus or Saugerties, or they're
the whole area.
Yeah, they're a tremendous resource.
There was a big help with the Patriots House that's there in Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
They help with putting a new roof and everything else on their place, and they do a lot for the area.
They sure do. They've, I know they're active in renovating the city pool, and I could go through a quick list of some of the projects they did in Saugerties. We have one of the oldest churches that was part of the Palatine settlement in Saugerties and West Camp, and that church, the steeple had fallen to some disrepair, and those folks are tremendous craftsmen, and they came up and stabilized and repaired that structure, and that small congregation would never have been able to do that had absent their support, and they came up and they made that happen. And that's not just a resource for the congregation. That church is historic in many ways, and there's a lot of legacy associated with that. So that's tremendously grateful that they did that. The Esopus Bend Conservancy is a small nature preserve in Saugerties at the Berkeley Heights area, and it has become quite a destination for elementary schools to go there and map the seasonal changes with the plants and other things. There's a pretty robust.
The one group that they didn't bring up was Scenic Hudson, that just buys a property and leaves it and takes it off the tax rolls.
You guys have quite a few of those.
Bring that group up.
So I can't speak to how they've affected Esopus, but for Saugerties, the resources they've developed in Saugerties have become destinations. Folks come from far and wide to walk those trails and experience the river in a unique way, and they've been tremendous resources. And oddly, near my home in Glasgow, there's a parcel that they took control over, and they opened it up to the public. So as a young person, me and my friends would go in there quite often, but we were not there lawfully or welcome. We were there by the generosity of the sisters who managed the property at the time. And, they would catch us and kick us off, but they never got us in trouble, so to speak.
Right.
And but now that is an open preserve, Falling Waters. It's got 2 really nice tributaries and waterfalls in it. It's a fairly easy walk, and that place is busy. People go there on the regular, and it's been a tremendous resource. But going back quickly to the Bruderhof, the Esopus Bend one, we wanted a pavilion, and the community did its best to raise some money to do it, and Deputy Supervisor Leanne Thornton is an active member of that organization, and she's also an educator, and she reached out to the Bruderhof, and they closed the gap. They were a few $1,000s short, and she met with them, and they agreed and saw the value, and they helped do that. And that facility's been there, I think, 4 years already, and there's always someone in it. It's money well spent and pretty uplifting, and the Bruderhof doesn't live in Sorgeties. They didn't have to be a good neighbor, but they are. So.
Yep, and that's what a lot of times a lot of people do not see is the good that these organizations actually do. Yeah. And they bear mouth of them without knowing the good.
Yeah.
But we opted out, and we'll just wait and see where that goes. But it's going to be a wait and see situation for this whole thing. So, you guys have a great day, and when Chief gets back, because he's probably going to be busy with all today being a threat day. You guys have a great show, and I'll keep in touch with you, gentlemen. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, George, if I don't talk to you, Merry Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas to all you guys, and especially to the Chief and his whole staff up there. And we thank our police officers for every day that they're out there doing what they're doing to keep us safe. So they are appreciated, and they are well-liked. So have a good day, gentlemen.
Thanks, George.
All right, George, take care.
Pleasure.
So, Fred, normally you're a Wednesday co-host. On Fridays, we do birthdays for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So we're gonna have a pretty
list. I know it's 8 minutes early, but since the Chief is on the phone dealing with some TikTok threat stuff or whatever is going on, why don't we jump into birthdays, because there's probably quite a few there. If you want, I can come in and give you a hand. We didn't have any yesterday, we didn't have any for your show on Wednesday either, did we?
No, we did not.
So are there how many days are there? Just one?
Not that many. No, there's only, it looks like there's 2. So we'll start with the 17th.
Oh, so there's one for today. Good.
All right, so we have December 17th, happy birthday to Craig Craw from your friends and family, mom and dad, Cheryl and Tom, nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews. So congratulations, Craig. Enjoy your birthday, and you're lucky to have a family that cares about you that much. I also have a happy birthday to Karen Richter from your mom and dad. And we have a note here, too, because those are the 2 for December 17th. And Karen Richter, you are the winner of the famous cow pie for December 17th, courtesy of the Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. So congratulations, and enjoy your cow pie and enjoy your birthday. And then we have December 18th. We have a couple for December 18th, so tomorrow's a big birthday. I have a happy birthday to Tyler Green from your friends at Lunch and Bunchers. And I have a happy birthday to George Hart from your friends at People's Place, and we hope you enjoy your special day. And of the December 18th entries, our birthday winner of the famous cow pie is Tyler Green. And that will be courtesy, once again, of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. You know, Lawrence, we talk about it all the time, but it's the first time I'm doing a Friday show. Boyce's, what a great sponsor.
Yeah, they are. You know? And that cow pie is something, you better have someone to help you eat it, because that thing has got a lot of calories in it.
Got some calories in it.
It's good. Yeah, I get one for I go down and buy one for my friend's birthday, and we take it up to Lake George with us every year. And the three of us, me, Liam, and Wghq, we go up there every year. And we can't finish the thing, and we're up there for almost a week. So, but while you were doing birthdays, we got a caller.
One more.
Oh, you got one more? Okay, I'm sorry.
It was clipped together, so I overlooked it. So for Sunday, December 19th, please wish a happy birthday to Shirley Ballantyne from your friends at the Girls Night Out Book Club. So congratulations, Shirley, and you will also be the winner of a famous cow pie, courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milkhouse and Kingston Community Radio. And thank you once again.
You can bring that pie to Girls Night Out.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
Even
All right, so we got a caller while you were doing birthdays. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Fred, this question or what I want to bring up would probably be more suitable for Joe. I'm sure he's got an ear to it. I'm sure you can relay some of the information. You guys were talking about the DWI status and how Joe mentioned the cannabis has no way to detect a intoxicated driver. My question is that you can pretty much, or a person can assault someone and be charged with assault. Has the state or Joe thought about charging somebody for assault? Now, you cross a double yellow line, hypothetically, and you're high as a kite, and you injure a family. Removing that from the vehicle and traffic law and putting it into the penal law, you have now caused the indicating factors show that you've crossed the line, and basically you've assaulted, 1, 2, 3 people with your vehicle. Would this be an avenue that the investigating officer can then charge a person? Obviously, there's contributing factors on an accident, and has the state, Joe would be better to answer this, has the state indicated that the investigating officer has an area that he can put down on the accident report that cannabis use was used? I mean, on an accident report currently, there's an area for DWI and in the section, and you actually listed on the accident report. Yeah. But something has to be done, just as you guys had brought up.
So I think
that if a person is driving under the influence of cannabis, there's got to be a way to indicate that he was a contributing factor of that accident.
So there's definitely, they can do a blood test. So if I had a catastrophic accident where personal injury was caused, it's likely that I'm going to be subject to a blood test. That blood test would indicate whatever substances were in my blood at the time that could have influenced my ability to drive. If it was alcohol, it's measurable. They can say, yes, Mr. Costello exceeded the .08 threshold, and he was driving, his ability would be impaired by the abuse of alcohol. With cannabis, we can measure how much is there, but there's not a quantified measurement that would say that the influence of cannabis was a factor. However, if you have a federally issued license, a commercial license, you are in jeopardy because the federal legislation does not acknowledge cannabis use, and folks who drive commercially still have a zero tolerance for it in your body, so you're not allowed to drive with that in you. And the folks that work for the town are randomly selected for drug detection, and the folks that do that know that they are prohibited. So there's, it is legal, it is not openly legal in a way that alcohol is quite yet.
Well,
and now Chief has joined us.
Whether or not the party that is under the influence could be charged for a simple assault. When you think about it, I mean,
so here's
what is the object that the person is assaulting with? It could be a rock, a ball bat, a car. And I think it's going to take somebody like Joe or whatever to charge that person with the other party with the assault, and the method of the assault would be the vehicle.
So the problem.
But I mean, who at an accident scene now? How is the police officer going to take a person, like you just said, in regards to a blood test? How are you going to take them into the hospital? The person says, "I'm not going to the hospital. I'm going to get in my sister's car, and I'm going to get in, and I'm going to leave."
So the only way
a driver doesn't have the luxury to say I'm not.
No, and depending on the scenario. So here's the problem we're having with...
If I refuse, if I don't subject myself to the officer, my license is a privilege. It could be revoked.
But wait a minute. We have to back up a little bit because I missed the first part of the conversation, unfortunately, because of these phone calls. The problem with cannabis is that the only time we can take the leap to say that somebody's operating under the influence of cannabis is that if we detect an odor of it when we go up to the vehicle and there's been a reportable motor vehicle crash. That's the only time that we can make the leap and say this person may be operating under the influence of cannabis. Then we can treat that as a DWAI drug case. So the person has to be arrested. And then again, if they do refuse to go to the hospital, they get arraigned before the local criminal court and their license is revoked. And then they're going to have to answer the charge for the 1192 for operating under the influence of drugs. The issue that we're going to have and that our prosecutors have is, again, is what you just mentioned when I walked in the room, is that there's no quantitative measure for how much THC in a person's system makes them intoxicated or impaired. And until they establish that, we are going to have cases where we're going to arrest people. The officer's going to say, hey, I saw a roach in the ashtray, I smelled cannabis, they had a reportable accident, we went and got a blood draw, it came back that they had cannabis in their system, and then there's a screeching halt to the case. Because what does that mean? Now, cannabis can remain in someone's system for 30 days, up to 30 days. It doesn't mean they're under the influence of cannabis at the time of the crash. So how do you prove, and how does the district attorney's office going to be able to prove the person was under the influence of that particular substance at that time of the crash? And that's going to have to be absent any other drugs in a person's system or alcohol. So that's the problem that we have, and it's a serious problem. And we are going to see cases where people may be killed in automobile crashes where a blood draw comes back with cannabis in a person's system, and at the end of the day, that person may end up maybe with reckless driving as a charge, and not something that's going to be even comparable to operating under the influence of drugs.
I guess thank God for the civil court, because that's where all this is going to end up.
Yeah, right.
It's because criminal court, you don't have the avenues to prosecute.
Right. I'm going to remind people, and I hate to keep going back to this, but in 2016, we had 4 kids that lost their lives in the village of Sorgetes, and the operator had cannabis in their system. And our district attorney's office hands were tied; they could not prosecute that case. And we're in that same boat today, because since then, there's been no change in the legislation to address that gap.
The only thing that's going to change that, God forbid, is one of these legislators, family members or something, is injured seriously or whatever. But until then, it's not going to happen. Like you said, there was a public outcry, but your hands were tied on that.
But you're
no way to prosecute it.
Yeah, I think there's already a sensitivity to this. The problem for now is that there's not the technology to, like a breathalyzer, where you can measure, hey, that individual did pass a threshold that has been acknowledged to represent a danger if you're driving. For the time being, you're right on with the civil stuff. Insurance companies are gonna litigate this. And, folks that have measurable amounts could find themselves, their insurance company saying, hey, that's not what we insured. We insured you with the expectation that you're going to be responsible. There's indications that you weren't responsible, and you're on your own.
Yeah. Well, that's from here to there, but, it's too bad. The police officers and, like I said, DAs going to have their work cut out for them. Mm-hmm. And, with that, I just wanted to bring that up. Like I said, I brought up even a simple assault or something. One of these things is maybe you got to charge a person.
So
see where it flies. You know what I mean? It's
right. They're definitely going to have to get creative when it comes to charging. But the problem when we take a look at assault and we take a look at a lot of sections of the and rightfully so, for good reason. I want to preface that there's got to be intent. The person's intent was to cause physical injury. And unfortunately, when it comes to automobile crashes, unless you're in a smack-up derby, I don't think anybody's intent is to have an automobile crash and cause injury to another person. So that makes it difficult to meet that threshold.
Well, you got your work cut out for you.
Right. Reckless is the more likely charge.
With everything, Merry Christmas to all. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Same to you. Thank you.
Great show.
Yes. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I missed the first part. I apologize.
Okay. No problem. But I thanked you when I was calling in, but for the residents who did participate, and we videotaped the last round, which wasn't as good of a dialogue as the first. The 3 individuals we had that you helped arrange, did those informational sessions, and we didn't limit it to Sauger's residents. Folks came from neighboring communities as well. I think anybody who participated in that, whatever your perspective on this, you left there with a much better understanding.
Sure you did.
Yeah, I learned so much in the first one, and some of what I learned was reinforced in the second one, but I learned new things in the second one, and it was pretty. Dave.
It was interesting because I honestly felt that the first town hall that we held, the majority, I would say up to 98% of the people in that room were pro legislation for legalization of cannabis, where we had more of a, I hate to use the word adversarial, but it was somewhat adversarial this past Monday night with some of the people that showed up, because they were, I don't want to say closed-minded out of respect, but it was somewhat being closed-minded. I know we talk about the whole thing with the opting out. I don't think they understand the process, and that's what they have to be educated on. Yeah, and that's what...
Because they treated that session not as an informational session, but as a public hearing, so to speak, and they wanted to express their viewpoint. And the point of that was not necessarily for, we always are interested in what our residents are thinking and have to say, but the point of that was not for that public expression, but for an educational perspective from folks who come from the cannabis industry. And, I was really grateful for their time, and, to the degree that we were able to have a good dialogue with them, I think it was helpful in all of our understanding. And, whether towns opt in or out at this point, there's a paradigm shift. And I think you articulate that extraordinarily well in your years of service as a law enforcement official. You've been on the enforcement side for 30 plus years. And, beginning a few months ago, you are now wearing a different hat, which is kind of curious.
Which is interesting. I mean, and honestly, I'm the only police chief in New York State that sits on the Cannabis Industry Association Board, and I do that as a member of the State Chiefs Association as a liaison to their legislative committee. And to me, it's important to be part of that process, especially when it comes to New York City Cannabis Industry Association's board, because we're going to have a say to help to kind of right some of the wrongs of this current legislation. A lot of it is really good, don't get me wrong. The penal law sections of the legislation are spot on, but there's still some gaps that we have to address. And the vehicle and traffic issue is the largest, and that really should take forefront to everything else right now. And, I'm hoping that in 2022, they're going to legislate this, and we're going to come up with some scientific evidence that they can say that we can quantitate intoxication and impairment.
Does a field sobriety test will point to some impairment, I would imagine.
We now have to re-educate our officers. There's additional tests now that have been added to the standardized field sobriety testing that'll help us get a better gauge on impairment, motor skill coordination and lack thereof. That'll give us an opportunity to bring in what's called a DRE, which is a drug recognition expert. And this all takes time, and it's all overtime. And there's only, and we don't have first of all, we don't have a DRE in our department. So we have to rely on the state police. The town of Ulster Police Department has one DRE. I'm not sure about the Ulster County Sheriff's Office. I don't believe they have any right now. The city of Kingston has DRE. So we have to rely on the availability of those 3 agencies when it comes to getting a DRE. So with that being said, once we bring the DRE in, they're at headquarters at our police department for probably 2 hours evaluating the individual and making the determination what drug group that person may fall into if alcohol is not a factor. Once alcohol becomes a factor, it completely knocks out our ability to address cannabis use, because the intoxication, if the person is impaired or intoxicated, has now become the focal point for the arrest. So it makes it it's interesting when you look at it, and that's why I preface the fact that I believe New York State, when I say we, moved way too quickly on legislating cannabis. There was too many unanswered questions. Do you have a call there, Lawrence?
We got Bob Howe on the phone from Reese Across America, from the Saugerties, what is that, Post 5034? Bob, you there?
Yes, it is. Yep.
How are you this morning?
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning to you guys. Good morning to your audience.
What can we do for you?
Oh, okay. Just calling in about the wreaths across America. It's scheduled for tomorrow. We're leaving 10 o'clock from the Senior Center. It's a program that started 30 years ago by the Worcester family up in Maine. They had a wreath company they had started. You know, it's their livelihood. And their son, he was 11 years old at the time, got a free trip down to Washington, D.C. And he went down, and he had the opportunity to visit Arlington, and he never forgot it. Over the years, when he started to work for the company and he became the owner, with the surplus wreaths, they would ship them down to Arlington. And that went on for years, quietly. And then in about 2005, a picture of Arlington dressed with the wreaths went public. And that's what started the worldwide push for this now. And it's grown, and there's over 2,500 locations in this country, at sea and abroad, where the veterans lay, they get a wreath on their grave. So we at the VFW in Saugerties, we got involved in this 5 years ago. This is our 5th anniversary doing this. We go up to Saratoga. When we started to go to Saratoga, there were 8,500 wreaths. Today, there's over 14,000 wreaths up there.
Ooh, wow.
Yes, that's a lot. And through the generosity of everybody in the entire area here, they have enough wreaths to put one on each grave. So that's a very nice tribute, you know.
It really is.
So yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's really a nice day too. You know, we go up there. We'll catch the bus. We'll go up. We'll get there about 11:30, and then there's a ceremony at 12 o'clock, and we're scheduled to put the wreaths down between 12:30 and 1. And when we'll go to the sections, and then when you get the wreaths, you walk up to the grave, and you place the wreath with the ribbon on top, and then you back up a little bit, and you put your hands over your heart or your salute, and you say the veteran's name. You state his name, and then that way they are never forgotten. It's a nice tribute. It really is.
I wasn't aware of that ceremonial component. That's a moving tribute.
It's very moving, Freddie. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's very nice, you know. And then after that, we go to the Schuylerville Legion Hall. We have a nice warm lunch because you need it after being out in the cold in Saratoga. And then once we have the lunch, we'll come back and we'll drive back through the cemetery to see it dressed. That is beautiful. It's really it's a heck of a sight to see, you know. Now, the wreaths stay on the graves until, say, mid-March. So if you have the opportunity, the time, take a ride up there sometime just to see the wreaths on the graves. It is a beautiful tribute. It really is. I have to pop me. My nose is running. My allergies are killing me.
It's like 50-degree weather we get in the middle of December.
Yeah, tell me. I know, man. It's really amazing, you know. It's it's something else. But we raised a little over $2,000 here in Saugerties, so that was quite nice. That's the most ever that we have raised, you know. And I send that up to the people up in Maine, and with the wreaths too. Now, this is actually something very nice. Also, again, all the truck drivers, they drive them voluntarily, free, across the country to all the sites. I mean, it's a beautiful act. It really is.
So the logistics are, when you get there, those wreaths are waiting for you. They're staged at the cemetery, and they're centrally located, and you go pick them up.
Yeah. Okay. But they have the boxes. I forget which club it is, but it's one of the motorcycle clubs up there that they help tremendously up there. And they'll when the trailers arrive, they'll go there and they'll take those big boxes and they'll drive them around to the different sections, and they'll all be set there, you know. And it's a great thing to do. And the lady that works this, who runs this, Lieutenant Colonel Martin is the last name. Excuse me. She's with the Civilian Air Patrol, and she oversees this project up there, and she does a fantastic job. Man, a very nice lady, very nice. And here's a tribute. Well, I like to give two tributes. One to the town of Saugerties for their contribution, and the other to the Ulster County Corrections Officers. They provide the bus and the luncheon for us, so that's very nice too. And a big shout out to both those groups. Thank you.
On behalf of the town, we thank you for what you guys do. We only play a small role, but it's an honor to help celebrate the memory of, the folks that have served on our behalf. So, and I'm grateful that you called in this morning, Bob. We read the brochure, but we can't speak to this with the same intensity that you do. And, you were a big part of this happening, and Saugerties becoming part of it. So thank you for that very much.
That's my pleasure, believe me. I can't believe it's 5 years already for us just doing this.
I know, it goes by really quick. But do you have a sense of how many volunteers are up there the day of? It sounds like...
Pardon me?
Do you have a sense of how many folks are up there volunteering to make this happen?
Oh, wow. I'll make you a bet it's got to be, I'd say probably easy 2,000 people.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. Man, last year was the exception. Oh, this is kind of funny to a point. We got up there last year. There was 30 inches of snow, all right? And it snowed the day before. And there was no bus because of the virus thing,
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bunch of us drove up in our own cars. And we got there, and there's 30 inches of snow. You could just see the tops of some of the stones, So,
yeah. Good luck trying to read your name.
Yeah. So thank God that some of the parents, they brought their kids, but we let them trail the blaze, man. They were running through the snow, make
it a path,
the aisle first. The path, yeah. It was funny, boy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure at the moment you didn't appreciate it, but that makes a memorable experience, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There is no question. Yeah, it was really nice, man. It is a great pleasure to do it too, and it's. I enjoy it. Yes, yeah.
I'm glad you do it, Bob. So, you noted the expansion of the number of graves that we provide wreaths to. I imagine that it's the World War II and Korean War vets that we're losing at a startling rate at this point. I mean, those folks are in their late 80s and 90s at this point, and we're all only human after all.
Right, exactly. Yes, I read something a while ago that there was 3,600 vets dying every month in this country.
Wow.
Yeah. And with the services up there too, up in Saratoga, it's the local VFWs and American Legions who provide the services. They each take a day of the week, and they go up there and they're there for the entire day. For the honor guard. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a great tribute too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you do a similar honor guard as happens in Arlington?
Yeah. But they have the firing squad, and the taps. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. That's an impressive, and that's a logistical, difficult thing to pull off on a regular basis. So congratulations to both of those organizations to make that happen on a regular basis.
Yes, very true. Yeah. And it's fantastic. And then Keith Miner, he goes up with us too. He lives here in Saugerties.
Yeah, he's a Saugerties.
And he's actually from Schuylerville up there. So he'll give us a little tour, like a little briefing too, about some of the homes and some of the monuments.
Mm-hmm.
and very interesting. Very nice. Yeah.
He's a pretty good wealth of knowledge, Keith. And I didn't know he was from Schuylerville. I always, I've known him as a Saugerties resident for so long. I think he's just from Saugerties. I didn't realize he was from Schuylerville.
Yeah, right, yeah. His mom is still up there, and he goes up by car this year, so he could go visit his mom, too.
Okay, that's smart.
So very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
How many folks do you expect to go on the bus tomorrow? 40?
Right. I was just going to say that. We got 32 this year on the bus, and 11 people are driving up, so a total for 43.
That's a pretty good representation for a town our size.
It is. It's a very good reputation. I think, actually, that's probably the most that we might have had. I have to look back in my files on that, yeah. But, yeah, very good. And the Boy Scouts, too. The Glasgow troop, 135, they're coming along, too. So that's very good. They normally do come, but now I think there's going to be more of them coming this year, actually, too. So it's very nice.
Good.
Very nice.
Yeah, you got quite a day planned. So
we do.
So generally I find, when we do a food event at our Legion, the food quality is actually very good. What are those folks going to serve you up there? Do you know yet?
Oh yeah. We get 2 hot soups, which are very good to warm up in.
Perfect.
And then we can make some sandwiches. There's some cold cuts and rolls and bread and salads. So it's good. That's very nice. Yeah. And they have a nice hall up there. And then after the meal, before we get back on the bus, we'll take a photo of the group, and we'll put that on our Facebook page, too.
Very cool.
And, it's nice, yeah.
Is that
very nice.
The Facebook page is for the local VFW?
Could you say that again, Freddie?
Our Facebook page is the local VFW?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, so folks can, and for folks that are listening, our Legion and our VFW are extraordinarily active in Saugerties, and if you have any interest at all or you just want to be supportive or have an idea, joining the Facebook page is a perfect way to know what's happening and kind of sharing those experiences and participate where you can.
Yes. Yeah, certainly is. Yeah.
So we talk about it a lot. You folks, it's quite often we put out the call for volunteers, especially during COVID, and your organization was a huge part of mask distribution, food distribution, toy distribution, and just want to take the opportunity while we're on the air to say thank you. It means a lot, and it's comforting for us as a community leader to know that we have that resource when we need it, and we don't take it for granted. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
And
thank you very much for that, Freddie. No we really appreciate that, and we enjoy to do it too. Yes, yeah.
And last week, when Senator Hinchy put together her the Veterans Services event at the Senior Center, I wasn't surprised to see all you folks there. You were, but they had a fairly good turnout. I know it was only 30 people. But I think the Senator's office was very pleased with that, and that was really impressive. They had a service for pretty much anything you could imagine. Assistance with unemployment, assistance with VA, assistance with, pretty near everything you could imagine. I thought that was, I was actually taken back how broad and comprehensive the offerings were.
That's nice. Right, yeah. I couldn't make that myself, but yes, that's a beautiful service to offer to the veterans, yes.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Really impressive. And the other thing I always notice, there's always a spin-off side effect to those congregative events. And I was part of 2 conversations between Mark, our Veterans Affairs Director, and the Veterans Affairs Director from a neighboring county. And, they do the same things, but they do things a little bit different. So as I was sharing the conversation with them, they were learning from each other, and you could tell they're going to find ways to work together moving forward and reach out in different ways on behalf of each other. So I thought that was pretty exciting and unique as well.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, that's good. That's great, actually. Yeah. But they do a lot of work, boy.
Yeah, they really do. It's fun to participate and all that. So,
yeah.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
No. Well, yeah. Just another big thank you to all the people who donated to this. You know, it's $15 a wreath, and if you can, you just send it to the VFW post 5034, and we'll send it up to Maine for the wreaths. That they have the wreaths now this year. That this will be for the next year. But if you feel like giving, please do, and we're guaranteed of a wreath then for each gift that you give, and we really appreciate it. We really do. So, okay.
All right, Bob.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Have a great day.
Tomorrow, yeah.
And happy holidays to you.
Yeah. Yes, and to you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate you taking time for calling in. Thanks.
So, about a minute here, we should have Jillian Crane, who is president.
It seems that we triple booked this next half hour.
We did this next half hour.
We got Bob Baum in the studio. We got a call in, and we have two people coming in?
Yeah, we have two people coming. So, Joanna Black, who's also works with Jillian, and like I said, Jillian Crane is president of the First Responder Children's Foundation. And Joanna Black is a part of their outreach group. She lives here in Sorgetes, and
she's got a
great person.
Interesting venue she's opening to help do some community work. So
yes,
we're excited about that.
So we're gonna stay focused this morning on the on the foundation.
So real quick, Joe, all those phone calls you've been running out, was there any problems with the threats, or is that what was?
So yeah, it's all I'm dealing with right now.
Was it all BS, or was there no problems? Right?
It's just it's all whipped up because of TikTok.
But there was no
TikTok.
But nothing happened though, right?
Nothing has happened.
Good.
It's just everybody's throughout the country right now is whipped up over this.
Okay,
yes.
But now the kids are in school and the threat is over.
Well, no, law enforcement is diligently ensuring.
So is this? Did they say it's going to be? Is it? So
this has been going on for the past month.
Right, but did they say it was supposed to happen in the morning, or is it like something that could happen anytime during the day?
Any time during the day.
Oh, God. It's just, so then all day it's going to be on edge. Then.
Right. So the unfortunate thing is that it just takes one knucklehead. To look at this as an opportunity, and
who started this? Some guy on TikTok?
Yeah, it all started over TikTok.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we do this? The phones are ringing. Why don't we go to break?
Yep.
And then we'll get everybody lined up, and then we'll be back in a few, folks.
Sounds good.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
This is Greg Jorvis, and once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Rondout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at the Kiwanis Ice Arena in Sorgetes. Thank you very much, and have a happy and Merry Christmas.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org. Produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we're back.
All right, thanks, Lawrence. So we are joined in the studio by a local commercial realtor, Bob Baum, and we got
all kinds of people in the studio.
Yeah.
We got people on the phone.
It was
we triple booked this hour. We got 3 guests, 2 in the studio, 1 on the phone.
I feel honored. I thought everybody was here for me.
Well, we are, Bob. We're always here for you.
Crickets, and then I had to run out on Lawrence, and they left Lawrence in here by himself until Fred got here.
I called in.
Yeah, you did. You did a good job. That was great.
Everyone's just doing great.
So I understand.
28.
Yeah, you covered that. The big stone.
Big stone. Yeah, that was actually. I was going off the off ramp, and all of a sudden traffic stopped. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then so I'm waiting, and I was on air, and then I saw the tractor trailer carrying what looked like oversized Jersey barriers, and one was missing from the middle. So, sure enough, when it got close, it was on the ground.
So our viewers, because we stream, that's my paparazzi.
Yeah.
Taking photos. So, Jillian, are you on there? Good morning.
I am.
Hey, Jillian, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. And for our listeners, this is Jillian Crane, and she's president with the First Responder Children's Foundation.
Terrific.
And we welcome you this morning.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we're excited to talk to you because we want to hear about the foundation. I've had great experiences with the foundation. And just for our listeners' edification, the foundation is really responsible for our Lights On program. They were our micro grant donator, and they provided grant money towards the program, which we're very appreciative of. And for those that are unfamiliar with that program, if you get stopped for equipment violation in Sorgetes, town or village, the likelihood of you getting a traffic summons is slim to none. You're going to most likely get a voucher that is good for up to $250 to get your equipment violation repaired. So I think that's, and I want to thank the foundation again for their generosity in supporting that program. So, Jillian, tell us a little bit about the foundation.
Well, thank you. I also wanted to say thank you to you for bringing that incredibly, really powerful program to the First Responders Children's Foundation because, we heard about it through you and decided, of course, the idea of community policing and going into, the communities and building a bridge, between police and the communities they serve is something that the foundation is very interested in supporting. And so we were really pleased that you brought this to our attention, and I want to thank you for that.
He just had to step out for a moment, but he is grateful. We all are. This is Fred Costello. And,
hi, Fred. Hi.
Yeah, and we were the first ones, basically on the East Coast, to become part of that Lights On program, and we were excited about it. But the day we did the kickoff ceremony, we had the vendors who've agreed to participate, and the gentleman from the Midwest who kind of founded it, and you folks there. The gravity of what we did really struck me, and how unique and special and transformative what we're doing it actually is.
I agree. Yeah, she's actually I'm from Minnesota, and so.
Oh, really?
The gentleman who founded it, so Minneapolis. So it was a nice coincidence there, but I will tell you a little bit, just briefly, about the foundation for people who don't know. We started the First Responders Children's Foundation started after 9/11. It was really a response initially to the 800 children who lost a first responder parent on 9/11. And since then, we've grown tremendously, but it basically started with scholarships for children of first responders who have been killed or wounded in the line of duty. And then as we've grown and faced all the other different, traumas around the country, we've worked on other things with, obviously COVID became a huge issue for us, and we expanded our definition of first responder to include 911 dispatchers and nurses and medical personnel, and have worked on, we give out, unfortunately, this is a sad thing, but bereavement assistance, mental health programs, agency grants like yours that do community policing. And we also, I think we worked on something in Socrates, which is your cadets program at the with the sheriff's office, and that was just also a great program with the community. I mean, you guys do so much up there to really bring the community closer to you and you closer to them, which I think is really, really a wonderful thing.
Agreed. And, ironically, last year's events kind of reinforced that those efforts we were making are important, and that's going to be how policing happens moving forward. Certainly not implying that we get it right all the time, but I was really proud of the fact that we were on that wheel as the rest of the country was acknowledging that that's an important place to be.
Definitely. In fact, you probably know, or you read about the NYPD working with forfeiture money, like millions of dollars of forfeiture money from drug dealers and other things. Instead of putting it back into the police, they actually used it to renovate basketball courts and parks in the NYCHA public housing in the 5 boroughs. And so the First Responders Children's Foundation joined a couple other foundations and partners, and we brought toys to all the 15 activations, the 15 ribbon cuttings of these new beautiful basketball courts in the NYCHA public housing all summer. And they're going to be building parks, really making safe spaces in areas where they haven't been. I think, this trend is so important, and it's just wonderful that, you're really, leaders in that area.
We're proud of that. I'm glad you mentioned the basketball. The scope of that is very, very, very impressive. How many courts are you guys renovating in the NYCHA housing?
They renovated 15 courts. It's a $4 million project, which will include the Colonel Young Park eventually, and other parks that will give them, lights, bathrooms. There's also 100. They renovated 100 gyms and opened them up for something called Saturday Night Lights, where kids could go on Saturday night and have, play sports, have other arts programs on a Saturday night, so they weren't, they had somewhere to go where it was safe. So that was all part of this NYPD, working with federal law enforcement, the mayor's office, and then First Responders Children's Foundation and others came along to supply toys at all of those activations. So we were everywhere with them over the summer to bring toys to the community and have first responders giving out those toys to the children, and it was just really a great way to make friends and really have relationships with the communities they serve in a different way, in a positive way.
In a positive way, and I think that's the key. Those relationships often happen when things are tense and there's a need for that service. But when you can develop that relationship when things are calm and there's people don't have those natural barriers up, it's a completely different dialogue, and those bonds are actually stronger over time, I believe.
That's such a good point, right? Because usually it's in the midst of something really, traumatic, tragic. It's hard for everybody to stay calm, and when you know people and you know the children and you know the families and they've had a good experience with you, that you build up, I suppose, trust, and respect for each other. And I think, hopefully that will make those times that are stressful go better for everybody. So anyway, so that was what we were doing a bit this summer. And also that was along with our Power of Play program. Mental health is a huge issue. I think it was before, certainly, but people are talking about it even more now. With, COVID, of course, being this tremendously stressful time for first responders all over the country, they really ran into danger, didn't know what was going to happen. And I think, in fact, there was a gentleman in Ulster County who came to us for a COVID emergency grant who sadly he worked at a local hospital, and he was transmitting patients in an ambulance, and then he was transmitting patients from inside the hospital to different areas, and he contracted COVID. He brought it home to his family, and he had brothers and sisters, but he also had a father who unfortunately got it and passed away. It was terrible. Yeah. So First Responders Children's Foundation, really, we paid his rent for many, many months and helped with a lot of finances for a while, and then we ended up honoring him as part of our National First Responders Day event as we have something called a Roll Call of Heroes, which honors first responders around the country for their service and honors all first responders for their service. And he represented the medical personnel across the country. And, he was just an incredible person and just a representative of so many first responders who basically lost a loved one or had to deal with, a lot of dead on arrivals and, all the trauma and stress, I think, has caused there to be a need for more focus on getting mental health support for first responders.
Yeah,
That's big. That's large when it comes to mental well-being and wellness programs that we're trying to implement, nationally throughout law enforcement.
So this pandemic has affected everyone. We all have someone we care about that we're trying to keep safe as we're trying to keep ourselves safe. So we deal with it at that level. But the folks that are on the front line and dealing with people who became sick on a regular basis, the stress that they've experienced is it's hard to imagine, quite frankly. And in this particular instance, that gentleman losing his dad as a result of his exposure, that's gonna be a difficult thing to live with. He's gonna be challenged by that for a long time.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, it's just what you did and what first responders did all over this country, and I think people can now recognize. I think now when they say, "Oh my God," people everywhere met their local first responder probably, or knew someone who did. Mm-hmm. Whether it was a paramedic, ambulance, police, fire, they all realized, oh, when you not call 911, people really do show up, even in a pandemic as uncertain as that is. And I would just say the children of those people, right? You're so right. Everyone was traumatized, but think of the children whose parents were going out every day, and they didn't know whether their parent would come back, would bring it home, would get sick. These are the kinds of things that the children of first responders deal with all the time, which I think is why the foundation really looks at a first responder not just as the individual, but the whole family, because the whole family sacrifices, and the whole family is important, and that's why I think the First Responders Children's Foundation is needed, because we really want to care for that whole entity, especially during times like this, which seem to be like every day. I don't know if you've heard about everyone's heard about what's going on in Kentucky, but I was just briefed yesterday, that we are, as a foundation, we were able to, with our partners, TQL and ServPro and Moves That Matter, get a truck of PPE, N95, hand sanitizers, and toys for children to Mayfield, Kentucky. It arrived late last night, and there's a firehouse that was destroyed, and volunteer firefighters who've lost their homes, and so we brought all of that to them. Toys, and CSX actually was part of that as well. So we were able to because of people donating and people like you who put us on the air and let us partner with you to do the great work you're doing. Because of that, we're able to be in Mayfield, Kentucky this morning with toys and hand sanitizers and help for this incredibly kind of broken community for a period of time while they regroup.
We're in the holiday season, and having the resources, those poor families that are suffering right now as we're preparing to enjoy our loved ones, and you guys bringing a little bit of hope and relief to them. Congratulations, that's perfect.
And it's just absolutely, it's tremendous. I just want to touch base real quick on last weekend. We had the Toy Express, which was 100% through the First Responder Children's Foundation, and and the toys that they provided, we're talking tractor trailer load of toys, and we serviced over 600 children last weekend of first responders, and I thought it was and everybody that was there, and I got to put a shout out to CSX Police. because they're a major supporter of the foundation, and not only is it financial support, but they come out, they show up with their people. And they showed up with cops. The police department came out last weekend and helped the Saugerties Police Department, along with the local sheriff's office and the state police and all the fire districts and fire departments within Saugerties, to help distribute those toys, along with the generosity of Macy and Bob Saracasano, who are our event organizers. Yeah,
they
great
love
people.
You, CSX Police. They say that that's one of their favorite events of the year, going out to see you in Saugerties and under your community and be part of that Toy Express.
It's just it's overwhelming. I mean, when you see some of those kids, and when you see some of the families that come in, and you know them personally, you know their struggles. It makes me proud to know that they're not ashamed to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouldn't be in any way. And it's just to be able to provide that opportunity, and it's something that quite honestly, we couldn't do it ourselves. We really couldn't. There's no way we could pull this off without the foundation.
It was, I don't know how many
Thank
vans
you.
were there.
You guys do a great job. I was there last year, and I saw it for myself. I couldn't believe what a wonderful, the Sawyer Motors and all of you, the Sheriff's Department and the Saugerties Police Department and the state troopers and CSX and all of those toys and your community of people were just beautiful and wonderful. And I loved being there last year, and I'm so glad. I know that I heard that it was really a great day, and I'm really happy that we could be a partner with you.
And I know we put somewhat the focus on Saugerties, but that event was open to all first responder families throughout Ulster County, and that's who we received in last weekend. So it's it benefits everybody in the community. It's everything through your wellness programs, to the Toy Express, to just providing grant funding for projects that help children, regardless if they're related to first responders or not. That's so big and overwhelming, and I'm just so sorry I didn't get involved with you guys earlier in my career. That's the only thing I regret.
Right, where have you been all my life?
I know, really. Where you been, Jillian? But it's a great relationship.
Where have you been, Keith?
What's that?
I said, where have you been all my life?
Where you been? Right here on the radio. With Bob Baum.
We're together now. That's what's important, right?
Right, exactly. So what other good things we have coming down the pike?
Well, as you know, and you were part of this, and you were a tremendous part of this, and so was the whole Ulster County area. But was the George Strait video, "The Weight of the Badge," which you were so instrumental in helping to help create it, with Universal Music Group and us, to tell the stories of people behind the badge, behind the uniform. And, we featured some, Sheriff Figueroa of Kingston and Lieutenant Pignat-Terra of Woodstock Fire Department and all the Robert Appleton and Stan O'Dell and Saugerties and the state troopers. You guys opened your home, and we were able to help relaunch George Strait's video, which if you haven't seen it, please check it out on YouTube. And your interview in that was really moving and powerful, and I think one of the best parts of the video, Chief Snagro was really fantastic. So thank you for helping us with that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was my privilege, quite honestly, and it was very humbling to take part in such a project. And for those listeners that didn't know, but we did shoot the video back in August, and it was just really good people. I can't say enough about what George Strait tried to do or is doing to really reshape police in our nation. And that's basically what he's doing through the video. And he's really showing or gave an opportunity for our profession to show that we're just like everybody else. When I take my uniform off at the end of the day, I'm no different than my neighbors in my neighborhood or the residents of my community. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that as police officers. And I think the community loses sight of who we really are. We're just trying to survive and provide for our children like everyone else is. So I think he really humanized our profession, and I really appreciate that. It's the first time in 34 years, correct? Because I'm going to start 35 in January. So first time in 34 years that anybody has ever gone to that extent to really show who we are as law enforcement and what our profession is really about. So I appreciate that.
I just want to share, I agree. The testimonials are moving and powerful. But the one that kind of struck me, and yours was great, Chief. I don't mean to disparage it.
Don't worry. No offense taken.
No, but Captain Appleton's wife's testimony, I think
yes.
really hit it on the head. She shared her daily concern about his safety when he goes to work, and I was like, wow, that's really deep and really moving, and it's true. So that one kind of resonated when I watched it.
You know, when we go down to the police memorial in Washington, the reality strikes as to how many in our profession, and I'm just talking police officers, let alone how many firefighters and EMS workers lose their lives every year serving their communities, and we can't lose sight of that. And I think that this particular video did a great job at bringing all of those disciplines into one music video that really demonstrates the commitment that the members of our community make towards serving their communities. The one I got a kick out of is, and it wasn't staged for anybody that sees the video, but Stan Dell's interview. We're right in the middle of the interview. They get dispatched for a fire call, and he has to run out during the interview.
Yeah.
So but that's the dedication and commitment we have.
That was so great.
And I think sometimes people in the community don't understand our job's not a 9-to-5 job. Our job is when the bell rings, we have to run. Just like I had to probably jumped out of my seat 20 times already today to answer the phone for stuff. But yeah, and the foundation has really, I think they're the ones behind the scene. You're the unsung heroes, as they would say, behind the scenes in ensuring that all of our first responders are taken care of, and then also working on projects like this with George Strait to see that our profession really is recognized for what it is. So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
and we
you.
really thank you very much. And we worked with them to say, look, why don't we talk about every badge? Why don't we look at fire and all the other categories and just make it police are it's such an underrepresented in the sense that people don't know the story and what it's like for a family member, which I think is so important that we included. But then we included more women. We included in the first video for this, and then also bringing in fire and other first responders. I think it really showed the incredible amount of courage. We call you guys everyday heroes. So you're going out every day and trying to save the world in a way, and not be killed in the process. I mean, I hate to bring that up, but there are so many, as you know, probably this year, more line of duty deaths this year than there have been, I think, in a very long time. So we get those numbers. I'm sure you do. And actually, at the end of the year this year, we were thinking, what do we do for the holidays? And we want to be cheerful, of course, and we will be, but we are going to really talk about all the line of duty deaths and have a scroll of people who really served their communities and unfortunately who died and left children behind. And those are the children that we are committed to taking care of.
It is, and I had an opportunity back in 2008. I went through the FBI National Academy, and I went through it during a particular time when they had Police Week. And one of the events that occurs during Police Week is that they bring in by bus the children of the fallen law enforcement officers. And there's two ribbons. There's a white ribbon. I know those are for the kids who lost a parent that year. And then a blue ribbon is the ones that lost parents in previous years. And they come back for a day to spend at the academy. It's like a camp, and it's a mentoring program. But when you see the number of buses that come into Quantico, it's very heart-wrenching. And when you see the children come off the bus, it's just, it brings you to your knees, quite honestly. There was not one dry eye in my class, and there was 256 of us that day that received those children in. I think everybody broke down and cried within the first 15 minutes of that event. And it was the kids that gave us the support and the strength to move on the rest of the day. But it was really, really heart-wrenching to see that. And we lose sight of that. And think about the firefighters and EMS workers that are affected by this as well. We take a look at 9/11, and the foundation was created out of those events. We take a look at the number of children that were left without parents.
Yes, and now the 9/11 related illnesses, it's like, I think it's now up to 243, and they expect to have, double that coming out of, people who worked at Ground Zero, who are struggling with cancer and other medical issues from being there after 9/11 and working to rescue and renovate. And unfortunately now people, more EMS, more fire are dying from those illnesses and leaving those children behind. So, it's a sad it's a sad thing that it's ongoing. We're still relevant because there's so much to do. I guess that's the thing. I mean, there's so much to do for children of first responders and first responder agencies. And I think, we hope that we can really build an organization that has the means to do it. So, And, our scholarship program, by the way, I'm sure you know this, but CSX and Pride in Service, which is a big partner of First Responders Children's Foundation, they have a scholarship dedicated to a student, a child of a first responder in the Ulster County community. So if you're out there listening and you're a first responder and you have a child going to school, please go to our website at 1strcf.org and apply for a scholarship, a CSX Pride in Service scholarship, which will be given to a child of a first responder in Ulster County.
Right, and again, just you may want to just say the website again, but if you just Google First Responder Children's Foundation, it'll come right up. There's a spot on that site where anybody, our listeners, that may want to contribute to the foundation, they have the ability to do that through the site, correct?
They do, absolutely. And I'll just say this, $1 makes a difference, $5. I mean, really, we have over 100,000 individual donors, and they are really the people who keep us going. So I would be grateful if anyone wants to go. Yes, you can look up First Responders Children's Foundation or go to the number 1 and then strcf.org and just hit donate, and it'll take you to a page, and you can donate with a check or a credit card, cryptocurrency now.
Yes,
whatever.
Cryptocurrency.
Right. Pretty soon we'll be taking NFTs of you, Chief Nagra.
There
They'll be
go.
worth money.
There you go. I like that. That's awesome. Yeah, and remember those programs, like our Lights On program is supported, through the generosity of people that donate to the foundation. So, it's really important that we continue these programs, and we can only do that through the additional funding.
It's true. I'm just curious, and I know you've talked about this probably before, but what made you decide to become a police officer?
Oh gosh, you didn't watch my interview?
I did, but I want other people who haven't watched it to hear it.
My aspiration was to be a garbage man when I was in high school, and then it changed over to becoming a doctor. I went to pre-med school, and I said, wow, this is way too many hours and way too much work. But I got involved in EMS work when I was up there, and I ended up becoming a paramedic, and I did that for quite some time in Rockland County. And it was during that tenure when I was in Rockland back in the 80s that I met a guy by the name of Joel Isaac, who was a sergeant with Stony Point Police Department at the time. And he asked me one day after a call, I remember it, we were in this person's front yard, and he goes, have you ever thought about becoming a police officer? And I'm like, geez, not really, I mean, my dad was, my brothers always wanted to be a cop. I said, I really never thought about it. And he goes, he says, I see something in you. I think you'd make a good cop. And that's where my career launched. He hooked me up with an interview at Palisades Park Police, and the rest of it's history. And then 34 years later, here I sit.
There you are.
So
still plugging, right?
Still plugging along and still enjoying it. I'm loving it.
Officer.
Yeah, as much as it's changed. I mean, we've had highs and lows, obviously, in this profession. We went right after 9/11 that we couldn't do anything wrong, to now it seems like starting in 2019 we started doing everything wrong, and now I start to see the pendulum swinging back the other way. So we have to learn to adapt, and we have to learn to educate ourselves and our communities.
Yeah. What do you think of I'm just curious. What you both can ask us. What do you think makes a great police officer?
Empathy and compassion. Nowadays, yes. I think that some of the qualities, some of the attributes that were required to be a law enforcement officer, just like any other profession, changes through time. And I think we're at the point now where I like to see police officers that are open-minded. They're empathetic. They show compassion. And it's not all about the high-speed chase and the gun battles and about locking people up, but it's more about just seeing that everybody survives day to day, that we do our due diligence to see that people can provide for their families. And that means if we stop someone who obviously is indigent and, they have small children in a car and a vehicle with them, we have to think twice. Do we issue a traffic summons, or do we just let them go with a warning summons? Do we compound their problem for the day by giving them a ticket that's going to cost them money, or do we send them on their way and possibly offer some assistance like through our voucher program where they can get the violation corrected without costing them a penny?
Right. So we are out of time, and unfortunately we are out of time. We really enjoyed having you as a guest. We didn't even give Johanna or Bob much time to speak.
Poor Bob came in here. I made Bob get out of bed, and the poor guy didn't even get a chance to say hello.
No, I did say hello, but I've been educated tremendously by this conversation.
I'm glad to hear that, but we're going to have to get you on next week then, Bob, because, Bob did our lovely signs that you see out front.
Yes.
The ones that are outside. Yeah. They're on the thing hanging in front of the office, and these signs right here. Bob did all that on trade for us. So, I'd like to get Bob on as much as Bob has a realty company. Yeah. Bob's a big supporter of the Happy Christmas Fund. He's one of the first persons to send a check in. So, Bob, thanks for coming today. I'm sorry that you didn't get much time on the radio.
I think our listeners would
Can I give a shout out to Joanna Black, just because she's a fabulous member of the First Responder Children's Foundation team. She was our director of communications and then our director of strategic partnerships, and she's an incredible supporter of everything we do in the mission of the foundation, but also just really brought us to you. And so I want to just say thank you to Joanna.
Thank you, Joanna.
Very good.
All right.
And thank you, Jillian.
Thanks, listeners.
And tell Al I was asking for him, please.
Yep. Okay.
He wants to come see you, so I'll tell him. And thank you so much for including me today in the foundation. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you. You too.
Great.
All right, so we'll be back on Monday with Medical Monday. Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday. Take care.